Hello, Power fans. It's Mathonical here, and join me for round 5 with Boros Bully. Opening hand is great. We've got two downsides, no red mana and two Squadron Hawks, but those aren't big enough reasons to send this one back, since we do have a turn 1 play into at least some Squadron Hawk value. We're playing against some more Delver. Currently, it could be anything. Most likely, it's blue-black Delver, since that is what we've been playing against a lot lately, but still can't be sure. Gonna play our Squadron Hawk here. If it gets dazed, that would actually be nice, since we do have the second one in hand. They don't go for that, and then we get our additional value. So it turns out we're against blue-red Delver. This is a little surprising, but very welcome, since that is a good matchup for us with all of our Prismatic Strands. So we're now into the race. We would like to find another land at some point, and in the meantime, we're just gonna play some Squadron Hawks, which are going to get removed. Our opponent goes for an Augur of Bolas and finds a counterspell. They still don't have 2 blue, so that is good for us for now. Just going to get in for a little bit of damage, and we're very glad that we found the Boros Garrison. They're going to remove our Seeker of the Way, which is to be expected, and we're just going to continue to swing in. I do want to keep this Thraben Inspector down and not attacking, because I would like to block this Augur of Bolas to prevent a ninja hit. They don't flip, which is good for us. They're going to swing in, block the Augur, and I'll trade with the Delver. I'm rather surprised that they did make that attack. And now that they have this Jace's Phantasm, which is a bit of a surprise, I'm going to go ahead and remove it. They did get rid of our Thraben Inspector, so they could get in with a Ninja, but we have our Guardian of the Guildpact, which is just going to completely blank this Ninja going forward. At this point, we might as well just get down another Guardian, since it's quite good here and allows us to keep getting in, and play a Squadron Hawk just for good measure. They play another Augur, find a second counter spell. Things are looking pretty good for us here. We'll try and play a Battle Screech, because I'm not really expecting much to counter it, and they go for a Gush. Usually it's not a good idea to gush on your opponent's turn like that, but I guess they were desperate and trying to find something to help them out there. We're able to get in for 6 damage, and next turn we're more or less guaranteed to get in for 4 damage with our 2 Guardians alone. We'll just journey their Ninja for good measure, and they do concede. We'll jump on over to game number 2. We've got quite a few sideboard options, so we do want to bring in the Electrickeries. Even though we didn't see any of the fairy package, I'm assuming it's going to be there, and I'm going to bring it in just because I expect it. Also bring in the 3 Pyroblasts, as well as the Charge and Hallow to protect our creatures. That is quite a few cards that we're bringing in, so we're going to have to bring out a lot of stuff. We're going to bring out 1 Sacred Cat, 1 Thraben Inspector, 2 Seeker of the Ways. While they are good in the race, this is more likely going to turn out to be a mid-range grind, so those don't generate value. We might as well just take them out. Also going to take out the 2 Rally the Peasants. We're going to be aiming to trade and just kind of bully them into submission. Trying to get the race win isn't necessary here. We're also going to take out the 2 Seal of Fires, as well as 1 Faithless Looting. Our opening hand is pretty good. It's not going to really be doing much, but we at least have the Prismatic Strands to keep ourselves alive until we find some action. Turn 1 Delver. Hopefully it doesn't flip right away. And lucky us. Alright, so they're going to swing in. Now I'm hoping for no Ninja. Alright, didn't get lucky twice. So we are going to go for the journey. I'm not expecting any days from blue-red Delver. And chances are they're just going to redeploy their Delver. And instead they go for an Augur. So if they have another Ninja, it could be pretty bad for us. And they even found a Scred to keep their remove a blocker. So I'm just going to play an untapped land instead of the Boros Garrison, expecting to Prismatic Strands when they play the Ninja. So we're just going to go ahead and do that now. It's not ideal, but that's what we got to do right now. Thraben Inspector is very nice. That will hopefully set us up to play the Battle Screech, at least both sides of it next turn. I'm hoping that they choose not to remove our Thraben Inspector, just so we can cast both sides. We, of course, also have this Prismatic Strands, which I am going to hold on to for now. So they've got 2 mana up. I am expecting them to have a Spellstutter Sprite, so Battle Screech is great to be playing here. I'm quite hoping for nothing too crazy from them. They go ahead and play a Spellstutter Sprite and flip their Delver, so they're in a pretty good spot. I could choose to double block the Ninja and stop a card draw, but instead I'm going to get rid of both of their fairies. This way it gives us more ability to cast our spells, and if they had another Ninja, I didn't want them getting back their Spellstutter Sprite. They are playing quite a few good cards. Augur of Bolas finding a Gush. They're holding up Spellstutter Sprite, so I don't want to cast a Faithless Looting into it, and sure enough they play it. We are behind on board. We do have Prismatic Strands and a Charge. Hopefully we can make something good come of all this. They're digging through their deck and playing a Stormbound Geist. Unfortunately, we don't have a good answer to that right now. At least we can go for some blocks here, and I'm going to go ahead and flash back the Prismatic Strands. They do go for the counter. Thankfully, we have a second one. This will allow us to keep our birds alive, not let them draw a card, and kill their Delver. Faithless Looting, we're gonna just kind of dig through our options, use the Firebolt to remove their creature, and continue to hold back on defense. We do want to find some way of getting rid of their Stormbound Geist, like one of our journeys at some point. Augur of Bolas, again, finds them Electrickery. So if they have counter magic to stop our Prismatic Strands, that could be bad. We've also got a charge, so hopefully we have some way of protecting against it. Instead, I decide that I want to force this out of them while they don't have counter magic available. So I go for the Prismatic Strands, they go for Electrickery, and then I use charge. So that way we're able to clean up some of their board. And now we're going to start digging again. Squadron Hawk is great. It allows us to dig out of the rest of the creatures to just kind of grind out our advantage. We'll play one of them down now and swing in for some damage. We do have our Thraben Inspector to block one of their augurs, and perhaps we should have kept back one more bird just to triple block the other one, although they do have quite a bit of removal at this point. We're just going to block the one, and thankfully no ninja. So we'll go for the race at this point. We don't have much in the way of protection, although we did get lucky and find a Hallow. Now that we did, I'm going to go ahead and play out a Squadron Hawk. We do have the ability to protect and counter once. They're swinging in. I'm going to block the augur, and things are a little closer than I would like, but I'm going to continue to try and just keep this race going. We do have quite a bit of removal and some burn. We just got to find some good spots to cast it all. They're going for the Scred. I'm going to go for the Hallow. Pyroblast, their ability to counter it, and it resolves. We end up gaining a ton of life there. Just fantastic. Alright, so they go draw additional cards, digging through their deck, swinging in, and we will block there, and trade. Take our 2 damage. That's pretty good. So they do have a Stormbound Geist here, so attacks aren't that advantageous for us. Thankfully, our opponent doesn't seem to have much in the way of counter magic right now, so we're just kind of able to develop the board. We had the option to counter that, but I would prefer to hold the Pyroblast for something more important later on. Here, I'm going to go ahead and use the Firebolt mainly as a way of triggering our Seeker of the Way. Unfortunately, they do have a way of removing it, and I only have one spell that I can cast, so I can't keep it alive. So in the end, we just killed one of their fairies. They're going to swing with a bunch of augurs. We're going to block all 3 of them. I'm assuming they're attacking with them because they have a ninja at this point. We do lose one bird to kill one of their augurs, but none of them get through. We really do need to find something other than a land at some point. Now they're starting to get in with their Stormbound Geist, which can win the game for them at some point. I'm going to try and go for a Firebolt to start removing their creatures, but they have a spell stutter. I try and counter it, and they have a counter spell, so not a good exchange for us. We are going to use the Firebolt again to remove their creature. I would like to get in for some damage, so that way we can try and start getting this race back in our favor. They do trade, so we only end up getting 1 damage in. Alright, another Delver, and they're still going for the race. They are smelling weakness, and to be honest, we've been drawing a lot of lands, so it's not too good for us. They now have another Scred. Alright, hopefully this journey resolves, and they have a null. Alright, so at this point, we probably... There is the option of holding back, but since we know they have a Scred, that's not going to work, so I do end up swinging in. They're going for a full out swing. We're down to 3, and they had a lightning bolt. Alright, so we flooded out, unfortunately, and didn't quite get there. So let's jump on over to game number 3. Hopefully we can do a little bit better than just slowly whimper out into nothing. As for changes, I ended up taking 1 Thraben out and putting in 1 Seeker of the Way, because since it ended up turning into a race situation, perhaps the Seeker of the Way will be a little bit better. Opening hand, while not too exciting, is a reasonable keepable hand. We're going to be able to cycle that Thraben Inspector, and we got a Prismatic Strand to help keep our stuff alive later on. The best card for us here would be a Faithless Looting, so hopefully we find one of those at some point. Cycle the Ash Barrens just to draw another land out of our deck, and play the Boros Garrison. Gonna hold the Thraben Inspector back just to block any of their attacks. They end up flipping. They have a Gush. That's a bit unfortunate. Here I am gonna use the Prismatic Strands to stop 6 damage. I'd prefer not to get too far behind on the race, and I would like to play the Battle Screech and flash it back. So having the Prismatic Strands available for protection is where we want to be. The Firebolt is also going to be quite nice. That will allow us to remove their Delvers. If they went for attack there, I would definitely double block, no hesitation. They're casting a Gush, even though they've already made their land drop, which is a little peculiar to me, and they play a Jace's Phantasm. Nowhere near to getting that to +4/+4 range yet. And so yeah, we're just gonna leave it for a little bit. Nothing really is happening here. I could go for the Firebolt to try and remove one of these, but I'm expecting them to have a Spell Stutter Sprite, so it's just a matter of a waiting game. Unfortunately, we're drawing a ton of lands again, so unless we find a Faithless Looting at some point, this may spell disaster for us. It's a bit of a standoff. Alright, so a Pyroblast is good. It means we're going to have a more likely chance of getting this Firebolt down. Electrickery is also nice. Still just playing land go, so perhaps they're as flooded as we are. Journey is a nice pickup since they can't cast just one Spell Stutter Sprite to counter it, and it allows us to get rid of at least one of those. Electrickery, we're going to play the Prismatic Strands protect our creatures, and that does resolve. I'm now worried that they have another Electrickery to get rid of all our creatures, but there isn't really much we can do about that, so they end up passing. We've now got 2 Pyroblasts. Another Jace's Phantasm. Well, this Electrickery might come in handy after all. Hardcast Ninja, that's pretty good, but now that they're tapped out, I'm going to start casting some of our spells. They go for a Spell Stutter Sprite. I'm going to overload an Electrickery. They go for Hydroblast, but we have a Pyroblast for that. Very good position for us to be in now. The Ninja's going to be gone as well, and now we can flash back that Firebolt, and they're completely out of creatures. Swing in for 5. That was the exact turnaround we needed. Thankfully, our opponent got a little impatient and tapped down pretty low. They're going to play Augur Bolus and find a Gush. That is the power of Augur Bolus plus Gush. We're just going to swing in. We don't have protection from Electrickery, so I don't want to play out the second Battle Screech. And since I'm expecting Spellstutter Sprite, I don't want to play Thraben. Sure enough, they do have a Spellstutter Sprite, and they cast it anyways, likely because they want to get a Ninja out of their hand, which, that's fine. I'll let that happen. We are in a very good racing position currently, and now that we have a charge, I'm now very much considering casting a Battle Screech. They end up having an Echoing Decay, so now I'm absolutely going for this Battle Screech. They go for Counterspell, and I say no. We'll cast this, flash it back. We do have charge available. We also get to play our Thraben Inspector because they're tapped out and don't have Spell Stutter mana available. I'm going to go ahead and throw everything in front of this Ninja because I do not want that drawing them cards, and now we'll start swinging in. Thraben Inspector to block their Augur. They're going to play a Spell Stutter Sprite, likely to once again get a Ninja activation off of that, and that's okay. We have 4 damage in the air, so unless they can remove it, we're in a very favorable position. On our turn, we're going to look to cast the Journey to get rid of the Ninja, and if they don't have counter spells for that, then we get to play this Guardian that we just drew. If that resolves, we're in a very good spot. They end up having the counter. That's alright. Go for the Faithless Looting, and our opponent does end up conceding there, not because they're dead on board, but because they are down to 3 seconds on the clock, and there isn't a way they can win there. So, a very lengthy game against one of the classics in Blue-Red Delver. Quite a lot of fun and a lot of back and forth interaction. I hope you've all enjoyed the series, and thank you for staying with me as we got this 5-0. I hope you'll stick around for the wrap-up, and I'll see you there.